peak is extra peaky.
All right, hair check. We're good. OD, Dan C, Nick's hat looking nice, looking good, everybody. Welcome to the Congruity Corner live stream on the Congruity 360 YouTube channel. On your way in, if you're here live with us or you're catching the replay in the future, if you could interact with the video, it would be greatly appreciated. Some ways you can do that are hit the thumbs up. You can comment, you can subscribe, you especially can share it out with a friend. We just want to let YouTube know that we have something cool going on here and some interesting things for like-minded people to talk about. And today, we get very techie. Today, we talk about AI and challenges and some lingo that is a little bit above my pay grade and over my head, but I'm excited to learn in a digestible way. My name is Dan C. Bearded. I am the guide of this show, and not necessarily a host, not a ship captain, but a guide. And we're going to be navigating through some technical terms today. We're going to be navigating through some problems that are in the industry, but specifically going over what Congruity is doing to address those problems. And it's beyond exciting. Some stuff we can only hint at, but we'll be able to dive into more in the future, and then some stuff we can go fully into detail. And as always, you guys, the comment section, the chat is open for you to leave your feedback, but also to leave your questions. So to get into it, as always, we have our co-host with me today, Mr. Nick Phelps. Nick, how are you doing on this here, at least, beautiful Tuesday?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm thoroughly distracted. I think I'm working on too many projects at once, but that's okay. Yeah, no, I know. It's really out of character, having all of my monitors filled with different diagrams and terminals right now. But it's I wouldn't have it any other way. Honestly, today snuck right up on me though. I feel like it was fast forward since 5 a.m. this morning until right now feels like about 2 hours. So I'm doing great, right in my sweet spot.
I was just gonna say, so you're operating on full blast like always.
That's it, man. Everything, everywhere, all at once. Here I am.
I love it. I love it. And to move on from Nick here, we told you guys, you are the roadmap of this show. You are the audience. You are the people that are going to drive what we talk about through the lens of Congruity 360, through the lens of the people that work with this company, associated with this company, customers of this company. You guys get to drive that roadmap, and I promise you we will continue to prove that. Don't be afraid to reach out. I will say real quick, there is a link in the chat to the Instagram page of this live stream. This live stream has its own dedicated Instagram page. You guys can submit questions. You can submit topics. You can comment. You can watch shorts. You can get links and updates about this. If you have an Instagram, please consider go following. Absolutely free. Now, with that, there are several of you that are following and interacting, getting great views on shorts, and multiple people reached out to me personally and also Nick separately, not asking, but demanding that OD comes back on the show.
Everyone just likes him.
I had the word, in one of the messages, I had the word robbed being thrown out there, and they said that they were robbed of the continuing conversation with OD, that we cut it off short and that he needed to be back. I couldn't tell the exact tone, but literally told me we robbed them of the continuing conversation with OD. And Nick said, all right, we got you. We will make it happen. And so today we have Mr. OD back again. OD, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, Dan. I'm glad to be back here.
Awesome. We're very, very, very excited. And then, Nick, just to refresh people, maybe they forgot the episode or maybe they missed it and they're new to the show. Who is Mr. OD to you, to Congruity, to this stream? What give us the quick intro bio.
Yeah, so Matt OD is a master or a jack of all trades and master of most of them. I guess you could say. There's not much that he does that he's not really good at. So He's involved in pretty much everything that I work on these days, right? OD. I mean, it's like pretty much everything that we're doing is kind of across all of it. So he basically acts as my officially head of development and development manager, I guess you would say. And so anything that comes into our portfolio from a development standpoint, he kind of has, he wrangles along with me, and anything that I produce, of course, he follows along with me and makes sure that I'm not doing anything stupid. But there's, if you really look at it, he brings a wealth of knowledge from the development space, the software engineering space, and software architecture. And my background is in network security and network architecture, and general just kind of infrastructure and cloud, right? So if you kind of look at the stuff that I am focused on these days, a lot of it is very, very software architecture intensive, which is not exactly where I've spent my 25, 30 years doing this. That's OD's space. So he's involved with the new upcoming releases of products and suite of products at Congruity 360. We work heavily with the research and development department of C360 on those things together. So he has the purview into kind of what's up and coming there. We're here at Congruity. So that's big. I mean, it's a lot of stuff, but it all covers kind of the similar topic around software engineering, software architecture, data security, data management. That's kind of all in his wheelhouse.
Awesome. I love that. And I can't tell you guys how many people I keep coming across that are involved in this world. Just today, a buddy was messaging me, had no idea that he had known about this stream or really anything about it. And I'm trying to see if I can see his message here. Yeah. And he just got a new job within the last 3 weeks. And he is now the AI client solution director at a software company. And I was like, dude, this is your world. This is your content, your topic, we're your people, and it's like all these people, I had no idea they did stuff with this, they did stuff with that, and they'll see just a little post of the stream on my Facebook or Instagram, and they're like, this is so interesting, and then people are just going, and I'm like, this really is becoming almost just common conversation, and it's just worked its way into pop culture, and I'm so here for it, and it's cool to be surrounded by so many people that have been living it for a very long time now.
Tell me that title again.
All right, one more time, title here. AI Client Solutions Director at a software company.
Man, if there is not a job title that was born officially right in the middle of 2026, I don't know what is besides that. Like that was definitely invented within the past 60 days just for him.
Hey, it's showing you how this stuff is moving.
I love it.
It's
awesome.
It's moving, it's changing, it's growing. And hey, let's jump right into it here, because we have a topic here. And so the topic is data loss prevention, DLP in an AI world. Mm-hmm. And we got a couple of legs that we're going to take this with today. And to begin on this one, Nick, mm-hmm. what is the umbrella there? What does that even mean for someone in a layman's term, data loss prevention in an AI world? What's the big topic there?
This is one of those really kind of rare topics, I think, in the world of advanced enterprise technology that's actually very easy to understand and super palatable for most people, I think. Data loss prevention, it's a lot what it sounds like, right? You're preventing the loss of data. But what does it mean from a software standpoint? Like, what is that software and what does it do, right? And so what it is at its core, data loss prevention is the focus on preventing unauthorized exfiltration of data from an environment. And by exfiltration, if we're going, further out of the weeds, is when stuff leaves somewhere. So basically if a file gets copied down to a USB drive and someone takes that USB drive and they leave the walls of an environment with it, that data has been exfiltrated from that environment, right?
Interesting. So, quick cut in here, because I had to look something up today. Mm-hmm. So I work with companies, right? I create content for them. I store most things that I'm working on locally on my computer or a hard drive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I share it, and my main method of sharing is like Google Drive, right through the cloud. I upload it to Google Drive, and then to clear space, I had to look up today if I'm okay to delete a file once I've uploaded it to Google Drive. And the feedback was yes. Once it's uploaded to Google Drive, as long as you're not using like a mirroring system and this other version of Drive, you're good to go.
Sure.
And I'm like, I deleted it. That kind of seems like in somewhat of the world you're talking about, the data loss there and the idea of it leaving, right?
What you just talked about covers both topics we're going to talk about today, and you didn't even know it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you just described data loss prevention. You just described DLP, right? If you weren't authorized to take that data from your computer and put it onto Google Drive, that would be unauthorized exfiltration of data. And that's something that DLP, if you were working for a company, if you were an employee of Dan Command and you, Dan, didn't want your employees copying things to external drives, you would use the DLP solution to block that file transfer from your local computer to Google Drive. And that's what DLP does.
Oh.
Now, the other thing we're talking about today is DSPM, right? Digital security posture management. And what that would prevent is the then deletion of the original source files after you copied something out to an environment, because you're not authorized to delete those files that multiple people might have access to, right? So DSPM is going to stop the behavior of what you're doing with the data where it lives. And DLP is going to stop your behavior of taking that data and putting it somewhere else, thereby exfiltrating the data. So really that one example there was perfect. Couldn't have framed it better myself.
I had no idea. And yeah, go ahead, OD.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, that whole explanation, that even kind of covers into data lineage. So, where the source was, where did you put it? Did you change it along the way? So you kind of covered a bunch of little topics there.
Interesting.
That's right.
And you brought this up as almost like an old way versus a new way. Did I understand that correctly with the DLPs, or is it just two separate things?
So it's an evolution, but yeah, go for it.
I was going to say, the old days we called it DLPs. I mean, data leak prevention, things leaving your premise. I mean, that goes back to, there were companies, we were talking about this before the show, NetWitness, back before it got gobbled up, but they were very big into this space, and that was 20 years ago. So as Nick was referencing, it's an evolution. So DLP is still a portion of DSPM, but DSPM is a much broader scope because it's about privilege and access, like Nick was explaining earlier. So it's an evolution. It's still there in certain aspects, but it's becoming a smaller piece.
Yeah, it's one of those weird ones where I feel like it's like they coexist, but I feel like DSPM is kind of trying to take DLP's job in some situations, right? Like they're kind of buddies, they're arm in arm, but at the same time, DSPM's kind of like, we can get this guy out of here if you want. I can take care of this. And so you got some of those solution providers and companies out there that are doing DSPM. I think they're getting a little grabby with the DLP market, right? They're kind of edging in. And I think it's like to them, it feels like a natural progression, not necessarily a market share grab. Because if you already have your hands around, what data is, where it lives, who has access to it, and those sort of things, why not start pulling in some technologies that let you know where it goes and watch for anomalous behavior on those sorts of things, right? Just more ways to spot bad actors and to stop bad activity. So it's one of those weird things where you might see one replace the other, you might see them coexist. I think the coexisting is going to be probably the prevalent architecture that we see here over the course of the next couple of years, either things coexisting, like we say, or things getting phased out. Either way, they're going to be side by side for quite a while.
Well, it's the same evolution in the software world of, they have this whole term of shift left. Before you used to have security teams, and security teams would do dynamic scanners and static scanners like at the end of the SDLC pipeline. Now the shift left is let's do security closer to the developer's feedback loop. And it's kind of the same with the data, right? DLP was at the very edge. Now we're moving it back. So we're looking at the source files and tracking it way before it actually, is on its way out.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can totally understand that. And I think, and this will kind of, guys, we'll be branching in all directions here, but it seems like, and especially with the hotness of the topic and stuff and how this is impacting it, what with evolving on the AI side, when we're talking about these topics, OD, what is going on with AI making it worse, making it better? It seems like it's one of those situations where it presents positives, but also challenges.
Yeah, it's, I read a quote earlier this week, even though it's only Tuesday, but to Nick's point, it must have been over the weekend. But it was essentially that, it's the ultimate AI irony that the tool that we're using to employ productivity is the exact same that makes the data leakage effortless, because people are using these AI chatbots. Some of them are using with their internal, kind of like a secure enclave. Other ones just cutting and pasting Excel docs from, a financial spreadsheet into ChatGPT on the web. And then that just, right there, you've just had data leakage without anybody knowing. Now, it might have helped them save a couple of hours and now they can go to the meeting and give all this great insight. But that little piece of info is already out there somewhere, sitting probably unsecured. So it's a double-edged sword, right? And so we need to find a new way to counteract it. And there are different companies that are trying to implement these like AI gateways / firewalls to do, detection of your prompt before it goes to the model, so they can, scrub it or do whatever. Or like with DSPM and classify is, let's tag the files ahead of time so the agent can't even scan it because it's been marked as sensitive.
Interesting.
So it's a whole new world as the things that you have to consider.
It's crazy. What's crazy about it too, Dan, you said that it's, we might as well cover it because of the hotness of the topic and how it's kind of relevant, to this as well. It's the hot topic because it's relevant to literally everything right now. It is. Right? I mean, it's one of those weird things that's, just like when the internet, was first coming around, it's something that was impacting everything, right? It's like the .com boom of things. When the websites were first coming online on that internet, that was all anyone was talking about. And we've had a few, epoch moments, throughout the industrial and digital revolutions that are going to be the big bullet points in those timelines. And this is one of them, right? And so it does. It literally touches everything. It's got tendrils into every part of our lives right now. And what you said, OD, about effortless, data exfiltration and data leaking on accident. I mean, effortless or unknowing, right? I mean, there's a fine, I think one leads to the other. It's so easy that people unknowingly do it. I think it's easier for people that are trying to stash things for later and to get data out that they're not supposed to. And then it's almost even easier for people to do it completely on accident, unknowing that they're doing it at all. Jeez. So it's kind of funny. It's one of those rare situations that the behavior of your bad actor is almost identical to the behavior of your unknowing, unassuming, innocent user, right? And so making that distinction of normal pattern or slightly abnormal daily activity has once again been skewed and abstracted, right? It's harder to spot.
Well, it's funny because in all other areas of IT and software, there's so much friction that you kind of like, when something's wrong or something's happened because like the whole system just stops. And then with the AI, it's like it's so frictionless that people don't even think about it. They're like, oh man, I wish everything could be just this frictionless and just go on out. But they might have just exfilled whatever, like all your accounting records for the past couple of years, trying to come up with a new pie chart.
Speaking of effortlessly, Kenny just threw something in here. We just talked about effortless and unknowing. I don't know if we want to hit that question now from
I
Kenny.
do. Now, let me lead this one because I've had Meta glasses for like 3 years now. I have indoor pair, I got an outdoor pair, primarily for soccer. I film my kids' soccer highlights with my glasses, so I don't want to be the dad that's sitting there on my phone and watching the game. So I get it on my glasses. And I also have a buddy I graduated high school with. He is a professor at Georgetown, and he just did a full class about AI glasses and invasion of privacy. And I have a lot of thoughts on that. When you're in public, there's no expectation of privacy and stuff. But when you're talking about a private business and you're talking about data protection, right? We've referenced on this stream before, there's things like, Nick, you had talked about early days where you did physical work, right? And you did actual physical work on machines. This is data protection, but on a physical side of things. And how do you protect it when it's proprietary information? And it's not just the glasses, right? They're a really popular one right now is people have these pens that have a little tiny camera. They put it on their pocket, and the pen, it just shows the camera of everything that they're doing. And people are going into private, when in public, legal. Private businesses, though, it's a whole different story. Do you guys know anything about how companies are approaching this? Are they blocking tech? Is there something they can do? Is there a physical barrier? Is there I don't know anything about that. It's a super interesting thought about data loss and stealing proprietary information.
That one, I mean, so it's funny, right? It's an interesting topic because it's like, oh wow, didn't even consider that. You know, the legal and HR departments of most companies absolutely have thought of this, and it's way before these glasses came out, right? Is that most employment agreements for any large company anyway are going to say, there's data privacy, there's non-disclosure, there's all the data privacy language that you need in order to stop someone from a policy standpoint from being able to enforce it and say you did something you're not supposed to. You have to define what those things are before you're allowed to hold someone's feet to the fire and tell them they did something wrong, right?
Okay.
You can't just assume everyone knows that you can't videotape your way into your office building and sitting at your desk with a GoPro all day. You have to tell people that they are not allowed to videotape and record sensitive information, and anything that's recorded can't leave the premises.
About today, though, that's real, right? There's people that vlog their day and they don't think twice. And you guys were just talking about knowingly and unknowingly. This is just physical. Yeah.
It's absolutely insane. Yeah. And so in my mind, if someone wears those glasses and you work at, Fortune 50 bank, whatever it is, and you're in Manhattan and you walk in and you spend a week at work and you start posting about your week at work on Instagram as shown through automated shorts of your Meta glasses, and you get fired. I don't feel bad for you, right? That was a direct violation of every employment agreement you signed working there. You've publicly disclosed private information and you've recorded sensitive information, right? And so to claim like, well, I didn't know I did anything wrong. There's nothing in my employment agreement that says I can't wear these glasses. It's like, well, yeah, but it did say that you can't disclose private information or record or videotape or take pictures of things that are sensitive information. And that does all of the above, right?
And there's probably a good faith clause or something in there.
Sure. There might be. And at the same time, it's like one of those things where like, if you're not allowed to record or take pictures or videotape things, and then you claim that, it was a mistake because you were wearing your Meta glasses, right? It's like, well, no, you bought Meta glasses because they record audio and video of everything, you do whenever you have them on to record. So,
yeah.
Buyer beware sort of thing, I guess. But no, I think it is, there's going to be policies and more so popping up as people sign new employment agreements that specifically call things out like wearable devices. I mean, there's meetings that, I've been a part of where, those little bags that you put your phones in concerts and stuff. Like I've had, you got those where you put your phones and your smartwatch in those before you walk into the conference room, right? And they sit there on the table next to you. So you got your stuff, but you can't have, they're RF blocking, they're soundproof in some cases, right? They can't record audio.
I was going to say, work environments are going to turn more into skiffs or white rooms where, you can't just have them in a very caged bag and next to you on the table. You got to leave them outside in a locker, right, before you walk into the room. But yeah. I mean, everything, even a lot of these AI assistants, like Pocket, like it, sticks to the magnet back of your phone and it's constantly recording so it can take notes and give you action items to do later. That could accidentally overhear something too.
Yeah. I don't know if everybody's seen those things. Like this thing is like, Dan, have you seen these?
No, that's the first.
So you know how when you turn on recording on like an audio call on your iPhone, if you have to record a phone call for later, it announces this call is being recorded.
Yeah,
And
it'll have,
anytime
like, the
someone
little
new
mic
joins,
symbol.
it shows
Yeah.
the little mic icon
Yeah.
and all that good
Yep.
good stuff. So this thing is a magnet. It uses the MagSafe and it sticks to the back of your phone, and it has a discrete contact microphone in it that can actually hear the audio going to the speaker of your phone, and of course it can hear you. So it records every conversation you have both on the phone and around the device, and helps you decipher your day into things you say you would do, and the things that people asked you to do, and it turns it into actionable items. But it's actively recording without announcing it every phone call you're on. Like, I'm shocked they were able to put that out like that.
That's crazy.
It was, if we're talking about Pocket, is that the one you're thinking of?
I think that's the name of it, right?
Yeah, well, that's one of the ones that I was referring to. I was when they popped up on Kickstarter, I was an early investor or whatever to their Kickstart program. And then it came out and it was interesting. But then I started seeing, like, started turning it off because, I didn't want it recording me yelling at my kids or something else where, it's just,
gotcha.
I don't know, just having that level of recording is just creepy.
All of a sudden you get Department of Family Services showing up at your house. They're like, they got straight D's, but you were a little harsh.
Talk
about your parenting.
On that similar one, something that everybody references, and this is not an exaggeration, this is not like playing into it. What is the deal with your phone, like, listening to you in terms of ads? This is not, I had a situation recently where it was not something I forgot that I searched for or something that was looked at or anything. Legitimately was at a soccer game, just like you did right now with saying Pocket, but I wasn't even online. And somebody brought up a product. I'd never heard of it. I'd never searched for it. I'd never used it. The next day, I started getting ads for that product. I did not go to my phone. I did not text my wife about it. It started giving me ads because of a physical conversation. Where's the legality there? What is happening with the software? Did I agree to something within my meta terms that allowed it? There has to be some real information on that type of data being followed.
I mean, so there is, but it's all tinfoil hat conspiracy theory.
Really?
If you look it up, unequivocally, they have denied any amount any amount of listening. Like, and it's across every big tech company. Like, they've gone through, like, even like, I was reading a story, Cox Media Group, right? They had a remote control for their cable boxes, where they were trying to do something like Siri, where you could say what you wanted, and it would change the channel for you. You could tell it, like, hey, cable box, whatever, go find me this. And they did active listening. All the recordings got hacked. They all got leaked and disclosed, and you heard every conversation going on in someone's house. And it made this big witch hunt, essentially, for people trying to find big companies that were, big tech actively listening to devices. So across Samsung, Apple, every other, smaller phone provider out there, advertising group, Google, Facebook, they all deny it. Everyone has 1000% said, we do not listen to things going on around your phone for the purposes of advertising. And it's hard to believe them, man. Like you just said, it's one of those things where, like, you go to a magic show and, like, magic's not real, but at the same time, you're like, I don't know, man. Like, this guy had something about him. Like, it was whoa. It's like, we all know that, he couldn't, David Blaine or whatever can't actually fly, but, like, it sure looks like he can.
Yeah.
The conversation very much feels like that when, like, it's like, I know they're not listening, but I don't know how they showed me this thing that someone told me and talked to me about. And like, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's very tough to believe that they don't do that because it's too coincidental sometimes.
There's no way. My last one was unequivocal. It was never talked about my entire life. Like OD just said pocket. If I get a pocket ad, I am going to screenshot it. I'm like, because that's not real. Like, it actually happened, and we're talking about data loss prevention. I feel like my data is being lost and being stolen just physically through the phone. Like, it's so freaky. I would have thought that there was something that they put into the terms of service that I agreed to that allowed it, but if they're denying it, that doesn't seem like the case.
Yeah, and there are things that like certain apps, like when you have like on the iPhone where you can say ask this app to not track other app activity. So that's what the iPhone's doing, is they're protecting you from that app having access to anything else on your device. When you're not using it. And and trust me, like it happens to me too. And I try to unravel it. I'm like, all right, if they're actually not listening, like how does this happen?
How did it get there?
How did I get so here's a great one for you. This actually disproves what we're talking about. And it just proves the law of generality, I think, in coincidence. This is crazy. So we were in Puerto Rico, right? And we're eating dinner at this restaurant, and we're eating at an outdoor table, and it's right next to the beach. And the lady comes over and she sticks this thing on our table. It's this little cone shaped thing about this big, and it's got a fan blade spinning on the top of it.
For bugs, right?
Yes. And so what it is it's like these two foil strips, and they spin, and it looks like a fan blade spinning. And you figure, okay, these things are big. It must smack the bugs, right? It must, and they don't like it. So they avoid your table. I looked it up, and what it is, see, here we go. I looked it up.
Yeah.
But hold on, it gets better. You think I just ruined the story. I didn't. I made it even better. I planted that. And so what it does is these things confuse the eyes of flies. So the reflection of the spinning foil, it messes with the way their eyes work. Okay. And it makes them not be able to enter that area reliably. They fly away. And so I look it up. I'm like, are the things sticky? Like, are they electrified? Is it like a spinning bug zapper? I'm like coming up with all kinds of theories. Nope, none of those things. Then fast forward, we're back. I am watching a demo video with a marketing company. This guy, he's in another country. Our time zones were different. He was ahead of mine, and he had a pretty thick accent. So I'm not sure where he was, but it was ahead of the time zone from the Eastern Seaboard.
Okay.
And we're in the middle of this demo, and he goes to log me in to show me the advertisements that were in this console from another company. And he opens up the console and says, here's our list of advertisers. Let's pick one at random. He picks one. It pops up. It's one of those fly devices being sold online. I had never seen one before in my whole entire life. Fast forward 2 weeks from having one plopped on my table. Next thing you know, a demo I'm seeing from someone out of the country has the thing that I just saw for the first time ever as the demo video that he shows me on this website.
Now, I do need to insert here, for those of you that do not know Nick deeply, you do need to understand Nick is a doctor. He got a doctor when he got to click on, what is the...
it was for officiating a wedding, and it was from a place. Yeah.
Yep. And so when you officiate a wedding,
you got to choose your title. I picked doctor of.
Yeah. So you get it like $15 add-on, right? Upsell to choose your title, and one of the titles was a doctor of time and space, and so Nick picked doctor of time and space, and he is a doctor of time and space. Literally and figuratively, you guys, this stuff happens to Nick. So this don't take his rule. I will tell you, like, I'll tell one quick story, and this is the craziest story in the history of my life, and I have a crazy life, you guys. Nick and I are at Daytona Beach, Florida. We are, do you know this story where I'm going, Nick?
Oh, yeah, I know right
Okay,
where you're
all right.
going.
We're
This
Daytona
was
Beach, Florida.
foundational to you believing that I'm not absolutely full of it.
Yeah. Nick just wins the national championship. I'm an honored judge at the national championship. Really cool. We're having a great night. We get to talking, and we're with a buddy too. And his name's Roger, friend of ours, real witness. We're down by the boardwalk, and somehow we get on the topic of being dumb kids. And the
Well, you have to like rewind. The story happened at dinner, not even near the boardwalk.
Right. Yeah. So we're at dinner, and we're talking about just being dumb kids. And was it yours or was it Roger? Okay. And,
No, it was mine. I told and the story involved me being hooked up with a the device.
Yeah. Yep. And he ended up, what was it? You stole a construction cone.
Well, listen, we're going to say that I, as a teenager, ended up with a construction light, okay, in my possession, one way or another.
So Nick's describing this story. He ends up, you guys know the orange barrel cones on we all know them, right? It's the state bird of Michigan.
Light on top of them.
Yep. And they have the little light on top of them. He's talking about this, how he acquires this light. Maybe a police officer's involved, and it's a really good story, right? And I'm like, at dinner, this is way before this. This is at dinner, hours and hours before. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, that's one of those things that I see all the time, but I didn't consciously know there was a light on top of these like orange barrels. And Nick's like, yeah, don't
it's detachable.
Yeah, don't steal them. They're detachable. I kid you not. Fast forward 4 or 5 hours, we're walking down the boardwalk, and I'm facing Nick this way. Nick is facing me. His back is to me, and a guy on a bicycle starts coming our direction. I turn pale as a ghost. I am like dying because
he stops talking mid-sentence.
I'm the only one seeing this bicycle. In the front basket of this bicycle on the boardwalk of Daytona Beach, it's dark out now. It's nighttime, probably 1 a.m. This guy literally has one of those construction cone lights detached and in the front basket of his bicycle, and it goes right by us. We all lost it. We lost our mind. And it was like, all right, he really is a doctor of time and space. This actually happened.
The law of relativity, applies heavily to my life.
It's crazy. So his story is an exception, but it just is nuts. There's too much to that. Too many people have had those real experiences where
it really is.
I didn't search. I didn't forget about something. It wasn't selective bias or confirmation. Like it was real. So that's just a fun jot through the memory there. Oh
yeah, no, it is funny though, man. And so I don't know. We talk about, data security and spotting these things is like, it's who knows on that one though. I don't know, every big company out there, you look at it. I mean, the FTC regulates this stuff heavily.
Right.
I mean, it's not like you can really like just say it and have people believe you. I mean, these places are audited and, held to the fire, and it's like, but at the same time, you guys, in chat, here, it's like, we've just seen it too many times. How do you deny it?
Yeah. Yep. No, I believe it. All right. Back to the software side of things instead of the physical one. Congruity. What are they doing about it? And I think we can whisper about something that OD and yourself are involved with Congruity. And yeah, glitz in the simulation. Don't get me started.
Yeah.
Don't get me started on that. I saw a bird the other day just frozen in the air.
Yeah,
dude's having a good time or something.
Truman shows. The guy's sitting there, pause the birds.
Yep. Sam and I both were like, but Nick, I'm leading you here. I'm giving you the dangle. Take it as far as you humanly can. I want more, but take it as far as you can. What is Congruity doing? And then how is OD involved? And how are they addressing the data security posture management in terms of what's going on with AI and the changing environment, evolution, as you guys said?
Yeah. So as I kind of mentioned, OD and I work heavily with the research development partner, the department over at Congruity, and so we we work heavily on the network security side of the house, network visualization, and everyone's kind of been looking at well, Nick focuses on network and security architecture. What's he doing with a data classification and data security and organization.
Management.
So really what it is, if you look at the DSPM space, we're basically combining a number of technologies, and we're out there giving demos, and we're talking about this with customers, and we have a couple of development partner customers that we're working on this with in a beta kind of alpha stage, I suppose. But Project Viking is basically a combination of technologies that is being developed to handle exactly the modern challenges that we're talking about and blurring the lines between DSPM and DLP. And so, if you look at what we're doing, I mentioned, OD works with me as kind of my head of development. We're working, both of us, heavily with the R&D group, and we're combining the idea of looking at data at rest, data in transit, and anomaly detection. And if you kind of look at what does all that mean, we are contributing from a intellectual property perspective, the components that are all coming together to form this new stack of technology, and what it's really geared towards doing. If you look at the traditional DSPM space, if you look at the DSPM market, and again, that's it's been around for a really long time, right? Some of these companies that are still the biggest players in the DSPM space now, they've been around for 20 years, and so oftentimes they're turning a really large ship around a very small, tight corner, right? It's a fast developing landscape, and everyone's kind of scrambling to do their best to either change existing technology or develop new technology to handle the challenges. And so if you kind of look at C360 as a whole, their focus has always been on what data is where, what is it, who has access to it, and do we need it, right? And so if you look at the side of a DSPM solution who's tasked with knowing who has access to data and who can do what with that data that they have access to, knowing what data is there and what data is critical, what data is sensitive, is obviously a very critical layer to that equation. So if you kind of fast forward a little bit here and you look at the idea of DLP, again, we talked about that. It's covering the exfiltration of data in transit, those sorts of things. If you take the traditional stack of what C360 has done with Classify, and you combine that with the idea of DSPM and then network data layered on top of it to be able to then combine data in transit and data at rest, it creates a really unique solution that's a modernized version of DSPM. It handles both, it handles the data at rest of where is it, what is it, and who has access to it. The DSPM side of what are the policies surrounding that data, retention policies, and who can manipulate and do what with it, and how do you monitor that and monitor the behavior, right, around the data that you have. And then how do we monitor it and make sure it doesn't leave the four walls of our environment, and do so in a way that keeps up with the quickly evolving landscape of what we just talked about with AI. And so really that's kind of that's what's around the corner is and we're going to, like you mentioned, we're going to talk about this a lot more in depth coming up down the road. But the pieces that are coming together really are aimed at the DSPM space and disrupting that traditional market of enterprise DSPM technology that we think was born in an era where we didn't have the challenges that we have now. And we think a modernized solution is probably going to be the best bet to tackle these challenges. Is something that was purpose built in 2026, specifically around the modern challenges that we're facing now.
That's awesome. And that's something OD's on there with you.
Oh yeah. So if you look at there's a large team, and it's a Herculean effort to pull something like this together. I mean, It really is. There's a lot of components, And there's a lot of technology that goes into it, and it's such a broad area. You do need multiple disciplines, as you know, to be able to do it. And it takes partners, right? We wouldn't, doing things in a vacuum is the old way of doing stuff. And if you look at the new way across our partner landscape and our customer landscape and C360's partner landscape, that's really what we do, right? We engage with our active customer base to develop new technologies to tackle their challenges as it relates to data security. That's what Congruity 360 does. And if you look at the customers that are involved here, our development roadmap for this stuff was not it wasn't developed in a locked conference room. This all came from customer feedback and really keeping an ear to the ground and knowing what customers are challenged with, what challenges they're facing, and how they're tackling them and what they need, how to fill the gaps of what they don't have. And so we've used our customer base as our development roadmap to be able to come up with these technologies. So we're developing things that are solving real problems for real customers today. And we're doing it in a way that fosters collaboration, not only internally, but externally with our partner community and externally with our customer community. And if you look at that, we talk about the modern way of developing software and the modern way of tackling solutions. And I think OD can probably chime in on this quite a bit. Is the old way was that you didn't talk about anything you were doing until you were done doing it. It all happened in a vacuum, in a closed door, and you pulled back a curtain, and that's what you got. And that's, if you're a customer, you got to see a new product that was done, released, and here it is, and this is what it does. And if you like it, great. If you don't, go find something else. That's not the way that things are happening these days, I've found, right? It's very much flipped into a collaborative effort. You select a couple of customers that are diehard customers that you provide services to and are deeply integrated with, and you talk to them about their challenges and what things they need that they don't have, and you work with them to develop those things in a collaborative way, and you involve expertise around your partner community to do that as well, both from a building standpoint and from a being able to distribute those solutions and to get them in front of more customers. You involve your partners and your resellers, and you take feedback from them. So no one's really in that group of people. No one's surprised when the new product is done, aside from people who haven't been in the loop and working on it with you. The people that are your first adopters and your consumers of those products, they've been along for the ride the whole way, and they know what to expect because you worked with them to develop it. And I think that speaks volumes to what we do here at Congruity 360, but also just the market as a whole is shifting to models that are more like that. They're much more open, much more collaborative. But that's the way that we're coming up with the solutions to these challenges, is not some crystal ball that we're shaking in a locked room. I mean, we're doing these things based on real customer feedback for real problems. That and even in its research and development state, this technology is providing real value and solving real problems.
Yeah, I was going to say, to further on with your point, I mean, I think a lot of big companies got burned by keeping the project behind a curtain and then unveiling it one day. It's like people's mileage changes when the rubber hits the road. So kind of building the car while you're on the road trip makes it more valuable to the customers and the people you're trying to help.
Interesting. And you've been doing this for a while. Have you noticed that as a whole shifting from how you were expected to work till now, or were you kind of outside of that?
No, a lot of in my earlier days when I was more of a product developer, we would do the same thing. We would build this new feature. It would be hush hush under wraps, and then it'd be at some conference. We'd be at a booth. We would unveil it, right? And so, but then it's like, well, what if you completely missed the mark? And then more and more people started having these design partners, right? Just, like Congruity's doing. Other startups that I've been in, they kind of, develop in the open. So they have like a weekly call that they just kind of talk about the features that they released. I mean, they haven't open sourced the code, but they're just talking about features that they're working on, give a little demo of a new feature, and then people kind of provide feedback from what they see. And, it's to break down these silos. So, and in their hopes that they get enough feedback in the early days when they start charging money for it, that people will be like, yeah, this has checked several boxes for me.
Interesting. And it's almost, again, in the light of data loss prevention.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that with kind of two of like my real world examples of, I think a lot of times they do that vacuum to protect the data so people aren't stealing it or jumping them or getting ahead of it.
Sure.
Two quick examples I think most people can relate to. I'm a sports guy. And in sports, you do work in a vacuum on new concepts and things because you don't want your opponents to know about it, to plan for it. Like I came from swimming and water polo. Every 4 years, there would be some new revolutionary thing that would come out in swimming, like a certain way you turn off the wall. And then for 4 years after, all the swim clubs would learn it because they studied the Olympics. And then the next Olympics would come around and it'd be something that would flip it upside down again. Or in soccer, right? PSG just won the Champions League. They're the greatest soccer team in the world. They always in the big games unveil these new strategies. Like this year, their goalie would kick it out of bounds on purpose and give the ball to the other team. And they're like, why would anybody do that? Well, they're forcing their best player to be trapped on the sideline and not become a threat. And it was like, oh my gosh. And it was in a vacuum. And then the one that strikes me, and I feel like Erin, if she's talking simulation, she'll appreciate this one. I'm big on following. It's just entertaining to me, the Bob Lazar story of developing like alien aircrafts and UFOs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And his whole thing was when he worked on it, it was all compartmentalized, that you were not allowed to talk to the other groups. You had the metallurgy group, you had the engineer group, you had the propulsion group, and they were not allowed to speak to each other because that's a way of controlling data. That's a way of controlling people. This seems like the same kind of concept, but they're like weighing the pros and cons, right? We have better collaboration. Maybe there's a chance of loss of data. And then it's almost like today they're like, with AI and with all this stuff anyway, what are we actually losing? And the positive is working together and getting the results and helping. It's interesting.
Well, and I feel like there's the piece too, where if you're developing something that the world has never seen, as far as every component of it is something drastically, different and new, there are still the cases where you need to do things under the veil of secrecy, right?
Yeah.
But I think that when you have been doing something, for example, as long as Congruity's been doing what they're doing with Classifier, they have a deep rooted, portfolio of technology. Whenever you're combining technologies to do something new and doing those things, as soon as you release it out to a partner or a customer to start working on it with you, I mean, at that point, the cover's off, right? You've introduced collaboration, but in my mind, you're doing it in a way where you're involving components that are yours, right? It's not like someone's going to catch the concept of combining 4 things that you own and go reverse engineer and go to market with the 4 things that you've had for the past 15 years, right? It's a different, so there is the place, I think, where it works in some places, doesn't work in others. It works with the evolution of technology. It might not work with the invention of new technology, right? Still, because you have the same problems of someone getting to market before you do or anything else. But whenever you're doing something in a community fashion, you're doing something with a group of people collaboratively, it's interesting. It's almost like the volume that you have and the momentum that you get from that collaboration almost protects you from some of the challenges that you have with accidental disclosure of secrets and things like that, because you already have momentum and you already have market share and you're kind of coming out of the gate with an audience.
True. Interesting. All right. I got a question for OD, and it refers back to, it's a callback to something earlier in the stream. Nick, you referenced the internet boom, right? In the time where it was like, oh my God, it was a shift in society, a shift in people. I remember hearing stories of people that were adamantly against email, that they were not going to get an email address. That was out of question. They would not do it. Fast forward to today, if you want a job, you need an email address. Quite literally a job. So you don't have that option. OD, in terms of AI, do you see are we on a similar trajectory where this is something that you've got to get on board with and start understanding and learning because it's just going to be the new way? Or is it something that is more not necessarily a fad, but it can be simultaneously not involved in everybody's life? Because I don't know. I don't see it like you guys do.
Well, I can tell you that everyone's going to have to get on board with it in varying degrees because the genie's out of the bottle now and you can't put it back in. I do, you know, in the 90s with the internet, it was funny. Everybody was doing telnet and all this stuff and, you know, FTP servers, very little security. And then, you know, towards even there with the internet and all those companies, the .com boom, right? Nobody talks about that much in the 90s, but I think that was kind of a writing on the ship about, you know, valuations of companies or whatnot. But the internet did not go away. I mean, Mark Cuban even said something like all the companies in the 90s that were laying all the fiber aren't around today, right? They got gobbled up or whatever. And then more modern companies, telcos, you know, like the AOLs of the world, they kind of started lighting it up and making money off of that. And I think we're very much in a similar thing. Like Cuban was saying in the same talk, it's like, you know, the models, the foundational, the couple of companies, they're all going to kind of, there's going to be a boom or a bust or whatever that's going to kind of right set it. But the local models, the small models, like it's going to get, as the technology advances, it's going to be a common thing. And I think, you know, workplaces, jobs are evolving. I think we covered this on the last podcast. Yeah. It's like, it's not taking jobs away. It's taking the way we do the jobs and it's changing it. And so, you know, you're just going to have to, it's like typing. I mean, they don't teach typing in school anymore, which is killing me because we were having a conversation with some other parents about how the kids are like hunting and pecking on the keyboard. I'm like, well, that was kind of a complete fail, but you know, I mean,
used to have the boxes, you know, where you couldn't look and it would block your hands from typing.
Yeah.
Did you guys have those?
Oh yeah,
I did.
Yeah, that goes right back to the Oregon Trail days. That's it.
Yep. No, it just seems there's been a couple in our lifetimes monumental shifts. The smartphone was one of them, right? You don't see it would be a vast exception for someone that's high functioning, really go getter, and they have a flip phone today. It's just like a whole new chapter, and it does seem like AI's in that direction. And so it's like when we talk about data loss, when we talk about security, it does seem like the wild, wild west days, but it seems like something everyone's gonna, at least like you said, in varying ways, are gonna have to get used to and get to know.
Well, yeah, because you said it, intentional or not, you can't put the genie back in the bottle.
Yeah,
right?
That's a good way to say it.
That's the best way to say it. It really is. Because can you imagine taking this away from people now that they've had it? Can you even
go back to like work in a real way for some jobs and stuff, and like simple tasks that we've made so easy with it? Yeah.
I mean, in the past couple of years, I've loved it so much, and I've seen even other senior developers are all getting back into programming because we don't have to do the stuff that we hated, right? Like, you know, test-driven development, and you know, and just a lot of these things where it's like object manipulation of like DTOs and things like that. And so it's, you know, we can just focus on the problem we're trying to solve at a higher level and review and audit the code that comes out of the machine. But, you know, I'm seeing people coming to me and like, hey, I built this whole thing by myself because I had this itch and I finally was able to scratch it and didn't have to track down some tech nerd that sits in a closet that we can never find to build it for me. I can build this all by myself with Claude, but then, you know, so that productivity shift is, you can't put that back. I mean, people are loving being able to do things on their own.
Yeah, and you even said it, like people would just be clawing at their computers.
I couldn't imagine it. And Leo's right, kind of to put a little cherry on this discussion. Also, changes move faster now. So fast. Like you said, just in the last couple of years, post-COVID era, how much has changed with AI and technology. Leo said, I grew up knowing how my grandparents did things. You guys, I have zero concept of how my grandparents lived day to day. And I mean that thoroughly. I have no concept of what their day looked like. I don't know how they functioned around the house. Like, I just don't know. I didn't, that wasn't like a time that's in any way similar to how I live now. It really is a crazy time. Crazy time.
It is.
Yeah, no stopping by that paper box and grabbing a newspaper to find out what happened, right? You
No,
just
no.
pull it on my phone.
And even that's changing, right? You get to the point where it's like, you know, you used to scroll through something and look at your phone to check out what happened in your town the night before, and now it's like you ask your favorite AI assistant, what did I miss yesterday, and what news am I going to care about that happened last night in my town? You know, and it's, you know, you ask the question, you get the summary, you get some links, and it's like that's the way. And it's, you know, and it's so even it's just every piece of it's evolving, even that information.
Crazy. Well, I'm glad we have companies like Congruity on it. I'm glad we have programs like Viking on it, and trying to manage it in the safest way possible and in the most intentional way possible, I think is kind of the best way to put it. So we are over time once again, my friends. Unbelievable conversation. I'm super happy we were able to tie some peeks into the future of what's going on here at 360. And man, the conversations are just getting going, guys. We have so many awesome guests coming up. And like I said, there is an Instagram link that's pinned in the chat. Go give that a follow. And please comment on a post. Send a message. If you have topics you want to see covered, if you dive into the Congruity site and you're like, I want to learn more about what they do with this and that, submit it. We'll make it happen. You guys are going to be our roadmap. And we're just going to keep talking about things that we know, that we're passionate about, and that we're curious about. So with that said, Matt, OD, thank you so much once again for coming on. It's so cool to hear, and it's the value of you and Nick and how long you've worked together and how you guys bounce off each other and know each other's work so well. It's just so fun to be able to do. So again, I can almost promise we'll have you back on again, because as long as he will have us, he'll be back. So Matt, thank you for giving us some time, man.
Hey, it's been a privilege. Thanks for the invite. I look forward to next time.
Absolutely. Nick, any final thoughts for our Congruity crowd out there?
Well, just like I'm happy to have OD with me when he proves himself to be smarter than me when we're working on stuff. It's great having him on the podcast, because I still feel like I have a face made for radio and a voice made for print. So it's very nice being able to offset that. But I think this has been great. And I think coming up here later this month, we actually are going to be covering what's going on with some Project Viking stuff. So if you're interested in that and to hear about the modernization of DSPM solutions and what's coming next for us in Congruity, we're going to have a guest on with us who is directly responsible for the progress and integrations that Viking has made and the development partners that we have. And I think that's going to be a whole lot of fun. And next week is going to be exciting as well, although won't be quite as forward looking as things are. It's going to take a little bit of a trip back to memory lane, I think, a little bit, and we're going to do some history lessons. But I think it's going to be fun either way. So we'll see you next week, and then stay tuned later this month for some exciting stuff coming up. But thanks for joining us today once again.
All right, guys, have a great week. Check out our